horse drifted alarmingly in the betting, was, fancied in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and a warm welcome to the Barsteward's Inquiry Sunday Sermon. My name's Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk, and with me tonight to discuss the hot topics of the week, the Haydock Betfair Chase meeting and other events that are very topical, and your questions, is my good friend and partner in crime, John Lang of John Joe's Blogspot. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Lee.
Yes. Hopefully, we'll get all the topics out of the way, and in humorous and statistical tune, as we normally do. We certainly do our best to entertain. And we're going to start off with yesterday's racing, which obviously ended up with a very impressive Betfair Chase winner. But before that, Quentin Franks, what a machine. The man's a machine, John. And he's running away with our Barstewards Naps table, which you can see on barstewards.co.uk. I think he's something in the region of 180% up on investment. And he's knocked the Ginger Hitler firmly off top spot and sent him straight back to his Berlin bunker. What do you make of it, of Quentin Franks, John?
Yeah, incredibly good.
Yeah.
You can't knock that performance at all. Especially the fact that he sent Hitler back to the bunker. Fantastic.
Only thing I'm going to take exception with. I mean, we do read our feedback and comments, and there was someone on YouTube that said he was like Lord Quentin, oh, brilliant, amazing, this and that. And he says made up for those terrible national hunt tips. I mean, this is a tough crowd. A tough crowd. I mean, you finished in profit by courtesy of Tommy's Oscar 5-1, and then you got the each way bet up in the Barsteward special, the Bell's doings. Yeah, and I wiped my nose with an 11-2 double. The obvious. To a Plutard and Strictly Dancer, and he described the national hunt tips as terrible. I mean, this is a tough audience. Anyway, yeah, but thanks for your feedback on as well. We do appreciate good and bad. We don't mind. We can take it on the chin. We've got rhinoceros skin. We don't care. Say what you want. Call us idiots. Anyway, we'll move on to the racing. And yesterday saw a very impressive performance in the Betfair Chase, one which certainly made inroads into the Gold Cup betting, John. Knocked in from 7-1 into, I think, a best price 4-1 for the Gold Cup. A Plutard just absolutely demolishing his rivals in what can only be described as very impressive fashion.
It was a terrific performance, really, wasn't it? I mean, all right. I mean, we were pretty certain beforehand that it'd be quick for Bristol de Mai anyway. But to see Blackmore taking a pull 2 out, so she didn't get there too soon, I mean, it's kind of unheard of in a Betfair Chase, isn't it? Because they tend to be a bit traditional, because they're always running a fair old clip, and whatever's won, I mean, it's like Corto even, I mean, they've tended to be getting tired at the end of it. And, I mean, that one looked as though it could have gone round again. It was a performance very hard to pick holes in, really.
Indeed. And, I mean, what do you think to the price for the Gold Cup? Do you think it's an overreaction on what it's actually be? Or do you think that, I mean, from my point of view, John, looking at the times at Haydock yesterday, the good old clerk of the course has put a big 12-foot shaft right up everyone's rear pipes. I mean, the times were just ludicrously quick, and is that? And obviously we did comment on the show on Friday where we said Bristol de Mai, Royal Pagaille, the heavy ground soup monsters. it's just not going to be their day for the ground. Do you agree with that?
Well, possibly not, but there was a school of thought that said the bloke dad didn't want it quick, you know.
Yeah, no.
And as I say, I mean, it's 4-1 for the Gold Cup, and you look at it from a punting point of view and think, I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't want to be laying it at the 7s it was before that.
No, fair comment. That's about where I'm at. I think they've got it about right at 4-1. I think that really does, just sums it up to me about right. I think that's where I'd be, around 7-2, 4-1 at this moment in time. It was a performance that will take some topping, I think, this season. And on the run up to the Gold Cup, I think you'll struggle to see such a demolition of a field of that ilk in the way that it was between now and the festival.
Yeah, I think the key to the Gold Cup betting will be at Kempton on Boxing Day, actually, even though it's not what I'd consider much of a trial for the Gold Cup, really. I mean,
No.
The other way around on a flat track. So, you can even get one that barely gets 3 mile winning it. But I think the thing is, if the pound shop Christopher Lay's other one that won the Gold Cup last year, if that turns up at Hampton and won impressively, that would probably put the cat among the pigeons. But other than that, I'd be really struggling casting around to find something to put up against that thing yesterday.
Yeah, Ellen Sheridan agrees. She says the Irish Rip is a new one. Hand it on a plate to us and serve it with a can of whoop-ass. She's not wrong, because if you look at the Gold Cup betting, I think barring Chantry House, I think the best price we've got to win a Gold Cup is about a 33s poke. So the Irish are clearly dominating the Gold Cup scene at the moment, and that certainly did very little to dissuade that point of view, I think. On to the other racing at Haydock yesterday, and we started off with obviously we started off with Your Nice Bet Tommy's Oscar. That did it really nicely. Moving on to the graduation chase, though, Brave Man's Game did exactly what it said on the tin and jumped well, superbly well, just like he did at Newton Abbott. Stretched clear, quite impressive. Some people have made noises in certain corners saying that Bob Ollinger's nothing to worry about. But comparing the two yesterday, I thought Bob Ollinger did it absolutely ample, and to be honest, the Irish are masters at prepping them for the festival, and it's not about winning a novice chase, at Gowran Park. It literally is, get them ready for the day. And I thought, but Brave Man's Game at this stage is a much slicker jumper, or certainly has put in two rounds of jumping that Bob Ollinger, was just nice and safe yesterday. Didn't jump spectacular for me, just okay, getting over them. Nothing. I'd give Bob Ollinger a 6.5 out of 10 for his jumping, whereas Brave Man's Game, I'm sort of 8.5 at the moment. What's your thoughts on those two, John?
Yeah, I'd agree entirely with that. I thought Bob Ollinger was fine jumping, apart from a couple of fences where he tried to quicken into the fences a little bit, and I wouldn't say the horse made any attempt to put down on him like that, nothing as hair-raising as that, but he didn't look as foot shower as he might have done in that situation. Now, it was his first run over fences, so you've got to make allowance for that as well. I think he'll be wiser next time, but I would definitely agree that at this stage, Brave Man's Game looked an altogether slicker jumper. Yeah,
you'd say on that Brave. I mean, I don't know the plans for Brave Man's Game. I've not looked in the quotes or the comments. But I would imagine if it was typical Paul Nicholls, maybe to run him in the Feltham, the Cowtoe Star at Kempton on Boxing Day be an obvious next target. You'd think in his natural progression, would obviously take the beating round Kempton from the front, as it always does. Kempton suits the front end, and a good jumper, they're nearly impossible to peg back. as Desert Orchid often proved around there. So yeah, brave man's game. Where do you stand on that? Everyone, do you think that, like Tony McCoy says, that Bob Ollinger's nothing to fear from brave man's game? I'm not so sure at this stage, because I always felt brave man's game would be a better chaser, far better chaser, in fact, than a hurdler, given the shape he used to make his obstacles. And, you know, as I said, it might be more interesting over fences, these two, than what it was over hurdles, when obviously Bob Ollinger was far too good at the festival for brave man's game. Then we move on to the 225. My two selections bombed out in this, 5th and 6th, both not handling the track and the ground for me. The ground was a lot quicker than I even envisaged. I did think the time was nearly 4 seconds quicker than standard for a 3 mile handicap hurdle. Obviously a good quality one, but shouldn't be 4 seconds faster than standard in a national hunt season. And Flight Deck and Right Place, Right Time, who they absolutely hammered on the off into 11-4 favourite, the Emmett Mullins runner. Again, we're not going to win from an early stage. I felt they were just on the niggle, struggling to keep up with the tempo. Your Bass Rock, I thought, had probably won the race. I was disappointed in him, John. In the end, I thought he's won. I thought he's had a nice trip, jumped well.
Yeah, jumped lovely, good position. I was a bit disappointed with the finishing effort, to be honest.
Well, I honestly thought he'd won. I honestly thought, so probably just after the third last, I'm thinking this has to win, really. And I was sort of, obviously, I backed it myself as well. I had a 3-way bet. And it was licking my wounds, this race. But fair play to Don Levant with Isabel Williams dropping it out. But I do think, as I say, you can take these races with a pinch of salt as the season goes on, because this was very quick ground for a national hunt sort of chase meeting, hurdles meeting, important day. I've not seen grounders like this. Cheltenham wasn't like this. And remarkably, they gave the going out as good to soft, good in places, and they changed it to good on the hurdles course after race 1. Well, with no inclement weather or no significant, how can you just change it straight after race 1? That
he needs to be tired, doesn't he? He doesn't know his ass from his elbow.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, really, when you're having a race run over 3 miles. Handicap hurdle, albeit a grade 3 and a decent one, 4 seconds faster than standard. No wonder there was non-runners in the race. That was just unacceptable from a Clark, I feel. Then we move on to, obviously, we've covered Plutard, very impressive in that, and then we Strictly a Dancer, winning the 335 from Empire Steel. Not really a lot to say there. Strictly a Dancer, just proving that he's ahead of the handicapper right now. Didn't jump as well as he did at Cheltenham last time, but still had enough in hand, plenty in hand really at the line. Things probably get a little bit tougher for him now. Yeah. And Ascot, John, yesterday we had Lost in Translation winning the Chanel Farmer, the Grade 2 event.
One for the snout.
Oh yeah, Tree Trunk Trotman, absolutely. Yeah, fair play, Tree Trunk. He came on. Well, he didn't come on. We won't let him on the show. Let him in 5 yards of the show. Terrible man. Lives in the Potteries. Port Vale fan.
Makes the Ginger Hitler look like Sooty.
Yes, yeah. Horrible human being. Went on the chase and failed on the ITV game show, and he tipped up Lost in Translation. He'd had it good word from the yard, and it duly bolted up. Fair play. Did get the run of the race. We did say this on the show on Friday. We do hope that sometimes we give some decent pointers on our preview show, and we said the pace would be hot. It was, even though Pistol Whip didn't want to get involved with the front battle. Master Tommy Tucker and Dashel Drasher hammered it out right until the latter stages, and then lost in Translation, picked up the pieces. Master Tommy Tucker probably ran well in the face of obviously the good pace set. I don't think this is King George winning form, John, do you?
Yeah, I mean, Defi de Soul dead, isn't he?
Well,
I mean, that was rotten.
I would think Defi de Soul is... It's an enigma, because it must have a lot of problems, and it probably is. It's on that, you would say it's wins knackered, would you not?
Well, there was nothing, was there, once he asked him? Nothing.
No.
You could not back that again until it showed something. Not the arse again. Pointless.
And then the next race was the Coral Hurdle, and that was won impressively, I felt, by Buzz. I was really taken by this, just visually. I know it's not done any, because if you take Guard Your Dreams as an example, and you say, right, that's 145, it's probably ran its race Guard Your Dreams. Buzz has beat it 6 off level weights. You'd say that comes out at about 155, and that's what Buzz has rated. Now that's well below Honeysuckle and a champion hurdle rating, but there's something. It reminds me of Rooster Booster. This horse, the way it does it, the way it just disposes of them like with the minimum of fuss, but only does enough. Just gets there and thinks, right, yeah, that's it. I've done it. And what do you think about Buzz as a champion hurdle contender?
Possibly not.
Yeah.
I thought yesterday it never looked like getting right. I'd be surprised if it made the necessary jump to beat the likes of Honeysuckle. I'd say running 4th or 5th in the champion, maybe being on well up the hill. But
I mean that aside, it's not even entered in the champion. It's entered in the Stayers hurdle, John. Do you reckon that's a more viable option? Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be particularly au fait with the Stayers division, to be honest. I think it'd be a more realistic target for us to narrow into it, to be honest.
Yeah. Anyway, Buzz is a horse I think going places. I think now he's able to win races that I don't think he'd have won a while back. I always used to think that he needed things going his way with good gallops and everything else, and just be able to come through and win his race. But I just thought I think he's getting better and better, and I wouldn't be opposing him in more or less anything he runs in, really. I wouldn't be taking him on. I think Buzz for now he's one to keep on your side. This side of the.
Would you still fancy Nico in a bigger field?
Well, that's the problem, innit? Nico looks as bad as ever I've seen, and not even on the winning rides. Sometimes I think the chap is suffering from whether it's confidence. Some people say he's never had it, but yeah, I just think there's something gone wrong with Nico. I don't know what it is. He's either just lost his plot, bottle, whatever. Maybe Popeye's had him in for too many gin sessions. We don't know, do we? We just don't know. But yeah, like you say, it's not. Catherine Fry.
That'd be my big issue, because if there was a big fail, I'd be terrified we're going to get another ride like he dished out last year with it.
Yeah. Catherine Fry, told me to watch my jockeys, and I do so more than ever now over the national hunt scene, because he literally is. There's a huge amounts of differences in some of them.
On that note, can we just mention as well that Betfair chase yesterday? How Blackmore just kept that nice and simple. She sat handy, moved to the front toe out, and just never a bother. You take Brian Hughes on that waiting patiently. For the bulk of that horse's career, he spotted his main rivals 15 to 20 lengths from the get-go. Looking to make ground up when races are getting serious and everything's trying to quick up. So he's looking to get closer in the toughest part of the race. They never learn, these people. She was top jockey at Cheltenham, and she wasn't dropping nothing. She rode everything more or less to the same pattern, and I just think she's far and away better than anybody we've got in this country at the minute, because they all start farting about these ridiculous dropout rides, and it's you're just putting a horse at a disadvantage after it.
Yeah, I like you say, half of these races are won because
waiting patiently doesn't know whether he's fourth or he's last.
Yeah,
if he's got horses in front of him, he doesn't know what the hell's going on behind him. He has no comprehension of his position in a race. Nor do any of these so-called hold-up horses. And these exaggerated tactics, they just make you puke half the time.
Yeah. No, like you say, half of these races are won by positional sense and where to have your horse and get them in a rhythm. And like I say, Rachel Blackmore just inspires confidence every time you see her. And yeah, fair play.
If she's on, you'll never have a bother about what she's going to do in the saddle. It never enters your head, she might bollocks it up.
No, agreed. Going on to just other things that obviously this weekend affects the anti-purse markets. And Jack, JCC punter on Twitter, he's fed up with the anti-purse markets. He says, given any time a horse puts in a half-decent performance, their price gets slashed for the festival. Is there much to gain anymore from Cheltenham anti-purse punting, given the risk versus reward seems to be becoming less and less lucrative? John?
The only thing you've got to gain is bragging rights with your mates when you've nicked a couple of points. You can say the night before the festival, look at this, I got 13 to 2 back in January, and look at the cards now, smoke that, you bastard. And that's about all you've got to gain, and plenty to lose. Most of the races, I don't know, they just seem habitually short-ish anyway these days, you know what I mean? Nah, there's no sweetener for me. I couldn't be getting involved, really.
There's two things for me regarding anti-purse that I can say for certainty is the best way. Rich Silver mentioned about the way he does it, which was the season, more or less before everyone else's. So you're backing horses after last year's festival, or you're basically playing well in advance before anyone else is. When an horse wins a nice novice hurdle, they're asking for prices for the next year's Arkle, etc. Before I think that's the skill, to try and get in before the horse in. Quite like, for example, Brave Man's Game at the start of the season. You're beating the price now, so you've got to get in at either at the very start, the very beginning, before they've jumped a fence, they've been in public, anything else, or you do the opposite, which is what I know a few people have started to do, is wait when the daft bookmakers, if you can get on, go non-run and no bet in around January time. Now, obviously, the advantage with that are massive because of the way Cheltenham is now and the race is cut up, i.e., the best mares can't race against each other because one will go for the 2.5 miler, one will go for something else, and one will go for the champion. So because it's so diluted that you end up with ridiculously sort of reduced field sizes, and also the ones that you were priced up to initially beat, and because you're on non-run and no bet, so you get your money back if they do pull it out of that anyway. It's just an absolute no-brainer. So just literally either wait for it till... But betting now is stupid. You may as well wait for the non-run and no bet, or you may as well have gone in like Rich, well in advance. And I think that's the edge. Do you agree with that?
Entirely.
Yeah, just common sense punting. I won't even bother now. I think it's a waste of time unless you see.
I don't feel over the stick personally that I have enough of an edge. I don't feel I'm clued up enough to spot one.
Yeah.
It's maybe spot the odd one here and there, but I don't have enough faith in my judgment over the sticks to really go to town on one anti-post like I would on the flat.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair and honest comment, John. I think that's why people like this show, because we do say what we think, and like you said, myself and yourself admit that we're just not quite as tooled up on the national scene as we are on the flat. It's just how it is. You got to specialise in what you do. Quentin Frank's the same. Our nap leader, he blitzes the flat, but I'd probably admit himself that he doesn't put that much work into the national hunt game. So we must up our game, according to the YouTube punter. We're terrible. He's right.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll go on to another question from Ian Sears, which this is again sort of related to the national hunt scene. Do you think the current dearth of runners over jumps is because trainers these days are risk averse? It probably means, maybe meeting each other, like top horses, or has the breeding industry bred out the hardiness, versatility from the breed. I'd be interested in your thoughts on this, John.
Well, the thing with this, I think there's a few factors really. I think trainers probably are quite risk averse, and I think a lot of trainers are probably under pressure to get one to Cheltenham. And the fact of the matter is, jump racing does break horses down. And I think if you've got one that you think's on a mark that's going to get into a race at Cheltenham, you'll think it's a workable mark. The temptation is to keep the bloody thing at home, keep it ticking over on the all weather or whatever, and just go to Cheltenham. Maybe give it a bit of a pipe opener in early February, and hope it comes back in one place, and then Bob's your uncle. There's still plenty of horses go at the horse in training sales at the end of the year, bought by people on behalf of national hunt trainers, and the top yards get plenty of horses coming to them at the start of a season. I'm not aware that any of the major stables' numbers are down drastically. So, in theory, the horses are still there. But I do think we've probably got too much racing, and we've had that problem for a while, I think, and too much choice for trainers as well. If you've got a novice, the stacks of novice hurdles, isn't there? Maybe we need less of them, so people's having to enter up and have races divided if necessary. I'd rather have that than the current situation. Jesus is on the ground as well.
I think it's a difficult one. This I did some stats on it in the last sort of 5 seasons to have a look, but if runners were in decline, and this year's National Hunt game so far since September. So I looked at September to the current time, and did this for the last 5 years. We're averaging 8.8 runners a race this year. I think the best we've had over the last 5 years is about 10.3 runners per race. So we are suffering a bit, and I would accept that the ground is something to do with that, because on the years when it has been a little bit softer, did produce the 10.3 averages. But the problem is we've got with the Cheltenham Festival, magic carrots aside, which we know are involved. I don't care what anyone says. The Irish are very adept at using magic carrots. It's just a fact. And, it's been, and when people say, well, how is it a fact? Well, there's been drug cases galore in Ireland got done over the years. Just do your newspaper cuttings. As I said, there is in England, but the point is, for me, the Irish love a winner at the festival. They're better at planning races for the festival, i.e. they don't mind if they have 2 or 3 coconuts, they don't mind if they have 2 or 3 spins or 3 or 4 spins. They don't, they just don't. They've got a plan, and they stick to it. We seem to be obsessed in this country by 1 1 1 1 1 1 1, and I think that's a problem, because then you get to Cheltenham, you've left your best earlier on in the season, and I think if we're going to have this, it's all about Cheltenham, then English trainers in particular have got to think. But then you're sacking off half the, and I think this is part of it. This is why we're getting these nice races early National Hunt season that tend to be very uncompetitive and very.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than turning up at Cheltenham, is there, with one that's say 1-3 on the spin, and it's carrying 11-6 in a 2.5 mile handicap chase. You'd be thinking, well, what the hell's he done here? He could have been off 10-5 or something like that if he thought about it a bit.
Yeah, and you've got to give £7 to say one as just a random example, something like a Gordon Elliott runner that's had 4 starts this National Hunt season. First one nowhere, second one pulled up, next one third, last start won, but didn't win far, as if to say they've been building it up.
Exactly.
And the real target is that 2.5 mile race. So I think, but that's the problem for me. That the Irish obviously love the meeting. That they love to have a Cheltenham Festival winner, and I think that's the difference. But we'd then have to forget about all our early season targets to compete. We'd have to then say, right, well, we're going to have to run them unfit in a Tingle Creek. We're going to have to run them unfit in a game spirit. We're going to have to run them and not be bothered. And then that just devalues literally everything in the calendar. What do national fans think to that? Because, we just sat all season waiting for one meeting. That's all we're doing. We're just literally sat, and it's promoted by broadcasters, newspapers, media outlets. It's all about the festival. And for me, that's sad, because that's probably why we're more flat, is because on a flat season, you've got so many top class Group 1s that trainers will train them for certain Group 1 events, yes, but it isn't all about one particular festival. You'll train a horse for an Eclipse, you'll train a horse for a Sussex, you'll train a horse, and so on and so on. And I just think it's so sad that we've got one festival that just rules everything. I won't say null and void, but no one remembers. Everyone remembers Cheltenham Festival winners. No one remembers big handicap winners, say at Newbury, or and so on and so on. Everyone remembers the festival winners. I don't know if that's sad or not. I don't know. What do you think on that, John?
Focus is definitely shifted. I mean, I could probably name 5 or 6 Hennessey winners from the 70s.
Yeah.
I don't think I could name the last 3.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's becoming like, other than when you get like a top class horse winning a Hennessey, like Denman, and you get some real quality horses in the lineup, which again, we'll come on to the Hennessey now. We'll have a quick look at the Hennessey next week, which is obviously a focal point in our early season calendar. And there's a horse that I like in there, John, on the ropes, the Willie Mullins runner. Won the Munster National at Limerick recently, but again, it's 6-1 favourite. Do I think you'll get 6-1 on the day? No, I don't. I think this is going to be about an 11-4, 3-1 favourite. It's obviously a horse that's been difficult to keep sound, but was very impressive for me in the Munster National. Had a lot left, as if they've got this horse cherry ripe, savage order. And I did think he was an ideal type, a handy runner. Jumps well, goes, because I always think you want to be handy in Hennessy's, because, you can, in a big field, you can have a troubled trip, etc. So I was very keen on the ropes, but again, I'm not bouncing, but I don't think it's 6-1 currently, but if it's declared, you're not going to get 6-1 on the day. You're a million to get 6s. There were 2 others I liked, which were Copperhead for the resurgent Tizard team. Yeah, I thought that was unexposed at that price. And also, one for the sort of people that don't mind backing an exposed horse. The one of Twisters, John. Is it the 4th last year? Is it Come On Ginge or
the Hollow Ginge?
Yeah, the Hollow Ginge. Yeah, he was 4th in the race last year for me in what was possibly a slightly better race than what we're likely to see this year. And I thought that, and he's £2 lower. So I thought, and Twister's in better form this year. So I think he's 33s or something, or 40s. I won't be going that daft prices about him. So I just thought they'd stand out. And you're going to want a good ground horse, because looking at the Newbury weather this week, unless they turn the taps on, you've got no rain that I can see forecast right up until Thursday, definitely. So no rain there. So you're going to want a good ground horse. What's your early take on the Hennessey?
Well, as I say, I rather like Copperhead. Was on my list of horses to follow last year, and performed with massive credit. Pulled up twice, Strickland and nowhere. And to me, they never really had the horse right at all last year. Really not. In the form figures, the yard was under a massive cloud for me as well. I actually wanted him to run this in the Badger Bay up in Canton. It was entered at the 4-day stage. I was fairly keyed up to be all over it, actually. I was going to have a right good bet on it. I'll have to have something on it in this.
Yeah. No, rightfully so. The Tizard team have turned a corner, so if this comes, there's every if this was priced up on its Ascot win when it destroyed the Kim Bailey horse there at Ascot. I think that's rated 150 odd now. It destroyed it that day. That there's no way that can be the price it is. So you make a good shout, John. Really.
And also, despite the Ginger Hitler's protestations, if Next Destination manages to eat a full plate of breakfast next Friday, I'm assuming that Pumpkinhead will declare that and run it.
Yeah,
reasonable mark. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that could be a runner and a big player. So the Hennessey next week, we're back on Friday. We haven't finished the show yet, but we will be covering the Hennessey meeting and the Fairy House Drinmore Bar One Festival. The Drinmore, the Hatton's Grace, Honeysuckle turns up next week, I believe, and it should be great fair. There's me, John, Andy Richmond, and hopefully Catherine Fry. Catherine's extremely busy at the moment. That's the reason for her lack of appearances on the bar stewards. I mean, John's got plenty for her to do in the cellar. Needs a good clear out. So that's where we're at with Catherine. And so don't forget to miss us on Friday. Before we move on to our next topic, Aaron Rhodes has been on and he says, you two must be happy now the weather gods have made the national hunt season akin to Bath in August.
I won't be happy until the first episode of The Road to Doncaster. I mean, we're in the process of putting that together, and I think that will be a sign that Mafeking is about to be relieved.
Look, watch out. Ruby Walsh, Lydia Islop, Nick Lowe, that the road to Cheltenham will be nothing at the sides of mine and John's road to Doncaster. We'll get Quentin involved on that as well. So you got three amazing flat judges. Hashtag the road to Doncaster. That's where it's all at on the bar stewards. Right, we're going to move on topics. And before we're going to come on to the whip debate. Before that, just a terrific article to read from Lorne Malvo on the barstewards.co.uk. If you haven't been on the barstewards.co.uk, please take a look, because there's some really interesting articles written, especially by John and Lorne Malvo at the moment. And Lorne Malvo highlights the Pay the Woman episode on Thursday at Catterick, where the horse drifted horrifically in the betting late on in a small novice handicap chase field and was pulled up at halfway. Definitely looked to be an inside job, if you like, or nudge, wink, wink information, that one. It was absolutely horrendous. Never looked like winning after about two or three fences. Never going. And I think that needed more investigating than just the BHA website, which said the horse has lost its action. They certainly didn't lose their action when they was getting the cash down before the race, John.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it? I mean, what was it, 5-1 on the machine?
It was 7-4 all morning, and then someone came with a lump close to the off, £1,500 to lay at 6 on Betfair. So you know yourself
he knew it wasn't winning, didn't he?
Well, that's it. You don't know when it's 7-4 all morning. No one sat there laying 5-1, 7-4 chances pre-off. When now people can say, well, it might not have been a 7-4 chance. That's opinion. I agree, but then you wouldn't wait.
It was never a 5-1 chance, though, was it?
No, absolutely not. So there you go. So something was amiss there. I did tweet under my personal account to Foxtrot Racing that own the horse, and I did tweet under Bar Stewards to read Lorne Malvo's article. Foxtrot Racing have yet to respond to either tweet. I wasn't being abusive or anything. I just asked the question: is there anything wrong with the horse? Bloody boss.
It's typical of racing, though, isn't it? People don't even want to confront the biggest elephant in the room at any stage.
Yeah. That's right. Right. So,
all I can say is, if I was Foxtrot Racing, I'd be perfectly happy to anything about it. I mean, anything that would come to light, or if there was a problem with the horse, it wasn't right when they got it home. Just I would want an explanation for it. I mean, and you're not going to be happy with that, are you?
Well, I mean, the stewards could have pressed that. They could have said, lost action. We're not really happy with that. I mean, it's you've only got to look at the betting patterns, and then with the excuse.
Lost action is when you made a noise, isn't it?
Yeah, it's.
They used to come in. He made a noise, Governor. I had to go easy on him. I didn't know And now I lost his action. I thought I was going to fall over. That way.
Yeah. So keep your eyes on Pay the Woman in future races this season. See what happens with that mare, and to see if the market goes the other way on another occasion. You might want to keep your close eyes on that one. John has also been very busy on the bar stewards recently, and he's also written a very good article on the whip episode, which I confess I haven't read yet, but I've skim looked at it, and he's put some fantastic video footage. And this is our next topic now, the whip debate, where a good listener of ours, John Hines, Mr. 101, attended a Cheltenham racegoers meeting in the last week or so, and he stated that some of the jockeys, etc., on that panel, David Bass, etc., wouldn't be bothered if a whip ban was sort of brought in. John, I mean, what's your full stance on the whip? I mean, I will point listeners to go to that article on barstewards.co.uk. You really need to read it, as I will be doing so, because I've already the plaudits are coming in for that. But what's your full stance on this whip debate?
Well, personally, I think we need to keep the whip simply because you want the horse to put maximum effort in. And in some cases, as uncomfortable as that may sound to some people, there has to be a form of coercion. People pay a lot of money to keep horses in training. And if a horse, for want of a better phrase, is taking the piss, no amount of cuddles, kisses, sugar lumps, or anything else will get it to stop doing that. The working animals, and once in a while, they're asked for maximum effort. They're not asked for maximum effort home. We're quite mollycoddled at home. They're looked after better than a lot of humans. But on the racecourse, they will be asked for maximum effort. And that involves a form of coercion. Now, a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. Now, it's not my sport. I can't tell people to take up knitting or anything else. I mean, if I'm in the minority and the whip goes, so be it, you know. But I do think the point that needs to be addressed is an awful lot of horses will become very unsavoury statistics because they will get shot. And that's the big concern I have with all this get rid of the whip. All the campaigners and everything, none of them are addressing the problem that will rear its ugly head with wastage. You know? Yeah. I'll give you an example. Some regular listeners might know I was very friendly with Mel Britton, who used to train at Ward Hill. His son's taken over now. Mel also had a little breeding operation at Northgate Lodge. And there was one year he sold 4 yearlings at Doncaster Sales. And I won't say who belonged to him, because, you know, I mean, there's no need for names being bandied about. Anyway, he sold these 4 yearlings, and he seen the trainer that bought all 4, actually, in the February before the flat season started. And he said, how's them, well, they were 2-year-olds back then. He said, how's them 2-year-olds getting on? He said, I said, I've shot them. No good. Shot. So it happens. It's uncomfortable, it's wastage, it's awful, so on and so forth, but it will happen. As if horses are taking the piss, people won't put up with it. Not people that's paying the bills. The campaigners aren't paying anybody's bills, they're not offering to pay anybody's bills. And this is a business, and these are working animals. And that's my stance on it. But of course, as I say, I get the feeling I'm losing the argument. And I think we're in danger of painting ourselves into a bit of a corner.
I totally concur. I mean, the way I come from it is when I went to school, I received the slipper and the cane, and we're talking early 1980s. And obviously, I know we're 40 years further on, but the point remains that it was given as a deterrent to stop you being a C word, and that in a way that stood me in good stead, because that basically taught me right from wrong and what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing, as words given by a teacher to tell me not to do it clearly didn't work. So the same is in horses of this day and age. They don't belong to our new politically correct era of doing everything by the book and speaking in a correct language that doesn't offend or anyone. And these horses, I've seen them in yards. You get very difficult horses to handle. You get some that are absolute angels, sweet temperaments. You get some that are absolute grade A bastards. And the only language that some of these highly tuned thoroughbreds know sometimes, pardon the French, but some of them need a good hiding. Some of them get good hidings. Whether you like it or not, this goes on in racing. It has gone in racing since, trainers will have to give a horse a good hiding now and again to make it behave. Now, that might not be what animal rights and people that pat the dogs on the head at home want to hear, but these are working animals, and they're bred for a certain purpose. And it's like you said, John, it's an unpopular opinion, or it seems to be less and less popular these days to hear these kind of stories. And you see someone like that equestrian lady that was that give that horse a smack round the chops and a kick in the chest. It's loaded in. Now I'm not agreeing with that, because I don't know the context of it. I don't know the circumstances. I don't agree with it. It looked poor. But I know for a fact that trainers will give horses good hidings to make them understand what the routine is, i.e., don't shit in your food bowls, don't, and so on and so on. These horses don't bite everyone that comes in to muck your stable out. Some just need an absolute calm down tablet. And this is the thing, trying to explain to people outside the game how this works to get the finished article on track. Some people would be shocked sometimes how that gets there, breaking them in, etc. Sometimes is not the nice My Little Pony experience, and so on and so on. It's getting them to teach them to understand what their job is and what the job is there to do. These are highly tuned. A lot of these horses can't be ridden very early on in their careers because they're too hot-headed, that's the thing. So I just think that the whip debates, if you get no whip, like you said, John, the wastage you are creating, i.e., who's going to buy a Nathaniel out of a staying mare? It's like, well, we don't want that, because basically, if that needs a couple of cracks to get going in a race, well, we can't. So there's lots of breeds that will suffer, that then you'll have to stop breeding. It has financial implications across the industry. But again, the people that champion this and say, no, I don't like to see the whip, you should need to coerce a horse or give it a smack to make it run faster. But then it has everything has implications. So it means changing our entire industry, and there'll be massive implications for this. Are we ready for that?
So many of the people that's in racing that have been vocal about this strike me as being massively hypocritical as well. I mean, there was no bigger supporter for banning the whip than John McCririck.
Yeah.
And for me, he abused his platform with Channel 4 because he never missed a chance to say we can no longer allow animals to be beaten in the name of sport.
Mm.
And in the next breath, he'd be championing hare coursing, which involved hares being ripped to pieces in the name of sport.
Yeah.
Matt Prescott's gone on record as saying horses that exceed the number of permitted straight could lose a race. I mean, not a thought to the implications on the betting industry. You backed a winner, and then you have to watch the replay to make sure you've only had 6 smacks and not 7 to see if you're getting paid. People's going to just start saying, well, I'll have a bet on the football. It's none of this bollocks.
Well, that's it. And the other problem you've got for punters is we've already got an aesthetic problem of a jockey not trying, and punters will complain saying, I don't think he put enough effort into that race. But then if you've got no whips, it's then a lot easier to just, there's no, we use the whip or amount of cracks they get as how off they were, to be fair. We actually do generally in British racing, that's what we do. So I just think, again, it'll put more and more punters off because they'll think more and more non-triers that, he didn't push that out, he weren't bothered. And I just think, again, it's the implications of it. It's a great idea. It sounds good in practice. Yep, no whip, fantastic. These horses don't deserve for a coercive smack to run faster. I get it. I get the argument, but it's then once you implement it, we're going down a dark path for me. And,
there's one dissenting voice I can't for the life of me work out, and that is John Frankham, who is an advocate now for getting rid of the stick. And I mean, he'll have ridden me share of 3 mile plus chases that have needed driving into the last 3 fences and needed a crack to get them to take off. I mean, I would have thought him, surely, from a safety point of view, wouldn't want a jockey, say, for example, in the Ida chase, coming down the straight at Newcastle without the ability to give a horse a crack behind the saddle, get it to take. Because when long distance chases are finished if the whip goes for me, but John Frankham, fantastic jockey, seems to think that won't be a problem. I would have to take that on board and consider his opinion very seriously, because he'd have more idea than me about 3 mile chaser going, unless he's just saying it to stir things up. Which I doubt very much.
Yeah, it'll go on, and I can see some trial meetings coming in from the BHA. That's the first step, I think. That's when we know it's on the table, when they'll do an actual hands and heels meeting where every race is literally whipless, like Monmouth Park did in America, etc. And have kept it. So I think it could be a slippery slope. What do you think? Get in touch with us on Twitter and stuff, because it's always good for. Yeah, we have debate on our Twitter channels and stuff where we'll answer your questions and on a week. And don't forget to check out John's article on barstewards.co.uk. Just a couple of things to finish with the show. Me and John are both unhappy that the Irish drugs raid, the tendon doctors, they've not even named the drugs yet that's in question that they've found. And we think this could be a brush under the carpet job, but we're not going to comment until we see further press statements, hopefully coming out in the coming days. But looks a bit unseedy, like a political scandal, this, John, do you think?
What I would have liked to have seen, I'd like to have seen some of these horses looked at. Well, and I mean, they're the easiest thing in the world to scan them all for tendon damage.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that's why they were there.
But this radio silence from the Irish Horse Racing Authority, I think this spells volumes. We don't even know what drugs they've found yet. 2 weeks in, I mean, like you say, color coded. It's got to have names on the drugs, surely. Else, how do you know what they are? It's got to have.
Could be giving them racing.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, interesting. One final question to finish the show. Quentin Franks, hashtag the road to Doncaster. This is our first of the road to Doncaster series. And Quentin Franks says, who do you have as first, second, third fav for next year's Flat Jockeys Championship? Well, hard to predict the first 3, but any clues, John, for next season's Flat Jockeys? Any tips? Who could be champion?
Well, I think Buick's got to go close again, because just strength in the stable that he rides for. I think there's every chance O'Shea could take his foot off the gas a bit next year, and he'll cite the pressure of chasing here, there, and everywhere for the well-documented problems he's had. So if somebody put a gun to my head and said I had to have a bet on the Jockeys Championship, which is something I absolutely deplore anyway, absolutely zero interest in the championship. Every year I play hell about lazy journalists. Because from September onwards, it's all I want to write about the Jockeys Championship. I couldn't care less. I would have to have a bet on Tom Marquand because he wasn't too far behind the other two. And I think he's riding for the best yard in the country. And he's sure of plenty of winners from there. I mean, them three look shoulders above everybody else, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm going to quote an outsider in Holly Doyle, but it's on the proviso that she gets the King Power job.
Yeah.
That now King Power will give you 40 winners a season. Now that retainer with the Arab owner that with in the green colours, that's not going to get her 40 winners. So she needs to jettison that. Oh, if King Power offer her that job, then that's the 40 winners I think she needs as well as her outside rides. And I think the BHA would be itching for a woman champion jockey.
Oh, they'd love it. No question about that.
And obviously the sport as well, to be fair, but it'd be good for the sport, I think. If Holly Doyle wins the champion jockey, it will make mainstream news, which is kind of what racing wants and needs. So
do you think she's got a chance of the King Power job?
Would I choose her? Probably not. But I'm saying that's what I'd be looking out for because Holly does rack up the numbers. She's a very hard worker, racks up the amount of rides, and I think if she did get the King Power, it will make it interesting.
It'd be nice to see Thick Dave get a sniff of it.
Thick Dave is underrated, as we know. Anyway, John's I'm a Celebrity preview, give it a shout as well because that starts tonight. It's full of laughs. John always does a cracking preview on that. That's on the barstewards.co.uk.
Yeah, get on the Emmerdale, lad.
There's three cracking articles on there. Give them a read because all three are worthy of attention. Better than anything you'll read in the Racing Post, all three of them. That's all from me and John. We're back on Friday, hopefully, with Andy. He's confirmed to me today he's on Friday, and we're hoping Catherine is back to cover the Irish Bar 1 meeting at Fairhouse on the Sunday as well. That's all from me and John. Have a great week. Bye for now.
Right, the show's over, boys. Thank you very much.